All right, welcome back to Business Today. And today we are having a healthy conversation. Matters to do with health and also how to streamline the value chain so that we can have affordable healthcare, available healthcare, but most importantly, quality healthcare, and we're looking at pharmaceutical. But we understand that technology is a critical pillar when it comes to turning this ship around. And talking about ship, I'm called Noah. Sometimes there is that little bit of confusion there. Matters to do with the ark. This other gentleman, he is the tech boss. I had introduced him earlier, and he said, wait a minute. Now he's back stronger than ever before, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to once again introduce our tech boss, Kelly Boss, with matters to do with tech and health. Over to you, Kelly Boss.
Well, thank you very much, Noah, and indeed, I'm flattered. But first of all, I'd like to comment on something that you had in the first half of your conversation with your guest. And it's really nice that he mentioned something about data, because with data right now, it brings up a level playing field for Africans right now, because for a lot of things in the healthcare sector, a lot of things are so expensive right now. But if you bring in data and technology, there's a sort of almost a level playing field where we can catch up or play catch up, as they say. But for today, we are talking about the growing overlap between technology and healthcare. And the importance of this, of course, is because we are going to have maybe previously, we used to think about, if you think about the financial muscle of African countries, you wouldn't think about getting a good patient to doctor ratio or patient to health provider ratio. But if you bring in technology, then it becomes easier, because technology that gap and makes things easier. And for today we start with we are talking about telehealth, but within telehealth most of us have heard about telemedicine. And so you'll ask yourself, what is telehealth, what is telemedicine? And so telemedicine is well within telehealth, and telehealth as a whole embodies telemedicine in the sense the providing of healthcare services through telecommunication devices. It can be through a smartphone or a phone that is not necessarily a smartphone, a kagbambe or anything, but for as long as it's virtual and you receive that, you get to interact with the doctor with the telecommunication device. That is telehealth. But telehealth also involves using, devices. You might have a person who has a condition that needs a device that might be used to, measure your pressure, your blood pressure, or something else remotely, and that is generally within telehealth. But telemedicine particularly just embodies that part of telecommunication. And so today we are going to talk about telehealth and telemedicine and how that, has a growing overlap within the health sector. And so I have of companies in the telehealth sector in Kenya, and they grew a lot during the COVID-19 lockdown, because it was more of, protect the doctor from this contact. At the same time, it's so many people that are going through other conditions that are not necessarily COVID-19 and need to see the doctor. And that's why these startups, and that's how these startups within the telemedicine, especially telemedicine, because I've seen so many of the telemedicine startups in Kenya get a lot of funding and grow beyond where they could have been without maybe COVID-19. I'm not saying that is good, but that is part of the things that woke us up and thought and made people think, and that is how innovations come. And of course, as we move on to the next slide, I want to talk about some of the things that if you are using a remote device and want to access telemedicine virtually, some of the things that they look at is weight, blood pressure. Even as we look at the next slide, your vitals, medical records, and some of the wounds. Because if you're physically affected, there's no point of you going from maybe 3 hours away from where you stay to the doctor's place. You might actually have pictures, a video, and that would bridge that gap. And that saves on cost, which I'll talk about the importance of telemedicine later on. That saves a lot on cost, and it saves a lot on the person who is, it takes a toll when you're not feeling well. And so just to mention some of the companies in Kenya that are doing really well in telemedicine is HealthX. You have seen them on our screens on TechFile. Zuri Health is one of the companies that have had good fundings as a doctor, the same, and My Health Africa. Now, talking about what is the importance of telemedicine, of course, it automatically cuts cost, because you'd need money to go to, transport. And of course, it cuts distance also, and cost, transport, and time saving is well within the same thing, because if you think about it in Kenya, the average person in an urban area, say Nakuru, Nairobi, Mombasa, would take around 3 hours to see a doctor. If you intend to see him right now, in 3 hours is when you'll see a doctor. In a remote place, it gets even more that time. So that bridges the time, it saves time. And also if you're sick, then the more timely you can see the doctor, the more you can get help, and maybe something might not, whatever you are going through might not get even worse. And that automatically cuts cost. And for example, because I've interacted with HealthX, you'd find a subscription on their application would be around just under 500 shillings. And you get to access a lot of things. And to see a doctor might be 1,500. Those are not figures you get in the hospital. And so telemedicine and telehealth generally is something that as Africans or as Kenyans we need to embrace. And I'd urge, you know, the techies to look at this space as a place to innovate and move it forward. And of course, it eliminates stress and anxiety. Perhaps some people would think about going to the hospital. Sometimes the hospital, I'm sorry to say, comes with a smell that might give you anxiety. You might actually get sick for being there, yet you are not actually sick. So you see, getting it through a telecommunication device might actually make things a little bit easier for you. And of course, Noah has mentioned something about even if you are using these devices, getting quality healthcare. And of course, getting quality healthcare goes hand in hand with a quality life, because everybody needs, it's a right to get healthcare. And so that leads into quality life. And then finally, now as I finish, I think I interacted last year, I did a podcast last year with the CEO of Clinidia, Miss Yulia Sinarova. And she runs clinics, not necessarily into the telehealth. She's not into telehealth, but she runs clinics and understands telehealth. She's done a lot within the telehealth space. And she mentioned that with telemedicine, it's such a good tool, yes, but caution is that doctors would need to at least let their patients come to the hospital first, see them, at least interact with them, understand them very well, do the diagnosis, so that as you go on to use these devices, you already have contact with this person, so that it's not just using the telecommunication device. And so I'm glad we have had this conversation, and I'm looking forward to do much more about telehealth and telemedicine. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on either YouTube or on our screens on TechFile. Thank you so much, Noah.
All right, thank you very much. Kelly, the tech boss. I want to add another title, the way we add OGW there. Kelly, the telehealth OGW expert right there. Thank you very much for that detail. And Dr. Victor, just looking at that, tech actually has so much potential to turn around our medicine.